Kirk trying to win it to Thielen, caught at the 5!
I got 3 words for you. You like that?
No!
Oh, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Skull Network. As you know, my name is Nick, and welcome back to NFL Week Picks. This is going to be Week 10. Before we get into the picks, I'm going to step aside here. These are the teams that are going to be on bye this week. You will not be seeing any of these guys over here. And let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the picks. Starting off with Thursday Night Football, we have the Tennessee Titans versus the Indianapolis Colts. And this game is really close for me. These two teams are both playing very well. Obviously, we know the Colts didn't quite pull it off against Baltimore this past week, and the Titans were able to barely edge out the Chicago Bears, which was a little sad considering the overall performance of the Bears, but I don't think that's going to play much into this week. Indianapolis still has a great defense and is able to shut down a lot of teams, but A.J. Brown is starting to pick things up a little bit. Derrick Henry was slowed down a little bit last week. I expect him to pick things back up a little bit, and if those two are working together very well, I think that the Titans will have a good chance to take this one. Next, we're going to move on to the games for Sunday, and the first one we're going to talk about is the Green Bay Packers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one is extremely easy. The Jaguars almost pulled it out last week against Houston, just not quite, and Green Bay was able to bounce back and take out San Francisco last week on Thursday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers is still playing great football, one of the top 3 MVP candidates in the league right now, and I expect him to keep playing super well. Devontae Adams also killing it, as much as I hate to admit it, but as I said, this one's pretty easy. I'm going to take the Packers. Now we're going to move on to the Eagles and the Giants, and this is so sad, guys. Literally, the leader of the NFC East has 3 wins right now, the Eagles, and it is anybody's division at the moment. Can someone please explain that to me? Why is this division so bad? Regardless of that, I do believe that the Eagles are just the better team right now. Obviously, New York coming off their 2nd win of the season, but it was also against Washington, who had Alex Smith throwing 3 interceptions. I just think that the Eagles are a little bit better team. Carson Wentz matches up better against Daniel Jones than anybody on Washington can, and I'm going to take the Eagles in this one. Now we're going to move on to the Bucks and the Panthers, and as we know, the Bucks got absolutely destroyed by New Orleans 38-3 this past week, and the Panthers were almost able to pull it off against Kansas City. It's great that they're able to stay with these great teams like Kansas City. The only issue is that Christian McCaffrey might be out again with a shoulder injury. We're not currently sure on his status, but if he ends up missing more time, we're going to go back to Mike Davis, which wasn't the worst thing for Carolina, but it doesn't make their chances against a team like Tampa Bay very good. I am going to take Tampa in this one. Next, we're going to talk about the Texans and the Browns. Texans were able to barely squeak by Jacksonville last week, not really saying much, and the Browns are coming off a bye week, and they are also getting Nick Chubb back, so that should help boost the offense a little bit. I think that is going to be enough to put them over the top. The Texans still, even with Deshaun Watson, are not playing well, which kind of sucks. It's kind of wasting his career a little bit. Granted, it's only 1 season, but I just like Cleveland in this one just a little bit more. Now we're going to talk about the Washington football team and the Detroit Lions. As we know, the Lions got beat by the Minnesota Vikings, and by that I really mean Dalvin Cook last week, as he put up crazy numbers again. But aside from that, the Washington football team seems to have Alex Smith as their starter for the rest of the season, or at least the foreseeable future, with Dwayne Haskins being the backup. He threw 3 interceptions last week, obviously not a great performance. Washington's still just not a great team. Lions aren't great either, but I do have them taking this one. Probably not by a lot. Now we're going to move on to the Bills and the Cardinals. As we know, the Bills took care of business against Seattle last week. It was actually very impressive. Josh Allen over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And the Cardinals took the loss against Miami last week and Tua Tagovailoa. And I kind of expect the same thing. I feel like Josh Allen's going to start heating back up, and that offense is going to start putting up more big numbers as they did in the beginning of the season. I like Kyler Murray. I like the Cardinals offense, but I think I like the Bills just a little bit more in this one. Now, we're going to talk about kind of a blame game in my eyes. This is the Broncos and the Raiders. These teams are kind of even in my eyes in terms of just being overall pretty mediocre. Neither team has been putting up crazy numbers in any facet at all. And this one I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about, but I will be taking the Raiders in this game. We're going to move on to the Chargers and the Dolphins, and Justin Herbert and the Chargers again lost another close game. Of the 6 games that they have lost this season, they have lost them by a total of 24 points. So they're playing close games, it's just they're not able to close. Tua looked like he improved a lot from his first week to his second week, throwing a couple touchdowns. Only issue is that he didn't really have much of a run game. He was the 2nd leading rusher on the team last week for Miami, but they are on a hot win streak, and I expect them to actually continue this win streak. I'm going to take the Dolphins. Now we're going to move on to the Rams and the Seahawks, and as we know, Russell Wilson had a little bit of an off week last week, didn't play extremely well. I still think he's the front runner for the MVP. Rams coming off a bye from last week, and these teams are both very evenly matched. Obviously, this is the matchup of the NFC West team, so you know it's going to be a very well-played game, but I think many people still agree that Russell Wilson's one of the top quarterbacks in this league, if not the best, and I don't expect them to have 2 bad games in a row. And when Russell Wilson's not having a bad game, you know he's putting up crazy numbers, and I don't think the Rams can compete with that, at least where they are right now. I'm going to take the Seahawks. Now we're going to move on to the 49ers and the Saints, and the 49ers are still having issues at the moment, and the Saints look like they're the team to beat in the NFC at the moment. Obviously, almost shutting out Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, and that entire offense. The entire team 38-3 on Sunday Night Football, and they're just looking like they're completely unstoppable. Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas now back. Drew Brees looks like he's getting into a rhythm after somewhat of a slow start, and I just think that this is going to be a very bloody game for the 49ers. I'm going to take the Saints here. Now we're going to move on to the Bengals and the only undefeated team remaining in the league, that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I've said in the past a lot, I like Joe Burrow. I just can't like that team. Tyler Boyd's great. They have some good pieces, but the Steelers are just so good. That defense has been incredibly stout the entire season, and while things looked a little iffy last week, they still ended up pulling it out. They are 8-0, and I personally expect them to be 9-0, even in what should be a tight AFC North matchup. Now moving on to Sunday Night Football, it's going to be the Ravens and the New England Patriots, and as of right now, it is halftime at Monday Night Football, the time I'm recording this, and they are currently down to the Jets by 10 points. New England is, which is not very good for them. Cam Newton has not been playing well. The entire team has just been playing very poorly. The Jets have been playing well, don't get me wrong. I don't know if they're going to keep up the good play after their bye week this week, but you never know. But in this case, the Ravens were able to pull out the win against one of the top-rated defenses in the league in Indianapolis this last week, and I think that they're going to have no problem working around New England. That team is just not doing very well this year. Their pieces are not molding well. Their pieces are just not very good, and if they melded well, it probably still would be very difficult for them to beat Baltimore, and I just have Baltimore winning this one. And now we're going to finish things up with Monday Night Football. This is, of course, my Minnesota Vikings against the Chicago Bears. The Bears still having weird quarterback issues, possibly considering putting in Mitch Trubisky again. Nick Foles ended up with okay numbers, threw the ball, 52 times last week, and it just seems like they're asking a lot of him and him to really run that offense when I do feel he's genuinely more of a game manager type quarterback. And as we know with the Vikings side, things have been going very well the last 2 games. Dalvin Cook has put up over 430 so total yards and 6 touchdowns. He leads the league in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Adam Thielen, I believe, is still currently tied for the league lead in receiving touchdowns. The offensive line has been playing well, which leads to Kirk Cousins not making any mistakes and playing well as well. And the defense is starting to get slightly better. They're not great, but I expect a very close game, even though the Vikings usually do not play very well in Chicago. Who knows? Maybe the lack of fans will help. And it's Monday Night Football, so it's Kirk Cousins' ultimate enemy. Obviously, he's never won on Monday Night Football. And of course, I'm going to say things are going to change. I'm going to take the Vikings. Kirk Cousins is going to get that first win on Monday Night Football, or at least I hope. And that is going to wrap things up for Week 10 NFL picks. If you guys thought any of these picks were great, or if you thought that they were awful, please let me know in the comments down below. I love to talk football with every single one of you. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the button down below to subscribe. If you like the video, give it a like. And if you guys want to share the video, go ahead. No one's going to stop you. Give it to the crack dealer on the corner. You guys already know. This has been Nick with Skull Network, and I'm going to see you guys in the recap between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears coming out on Tuesday. Adios.